Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of Yellowjackets Season 2, Episode 8, It Chooses. We are finally at the penultimate episode of this season, and I'm going to start with everything going on with the past, and then we'll jump in everything with the present. So, with the past storyline, you're seeing that this episode really is leaning into everybody is freaking starving in this cabin, and it's shown through so many different characters having visions and having out of focus camera shots showing them blurring what they're really seeing. We even got to see Ty see crazy Ty add a young version, which was kind of cool. We haven't actually seen Jasmine Savoy Brown play that role of the crazy Ty, so that was kind of cool. But there's a lot of crazy stuff going down in this past storyline this episode, and there's a lot of things I actually really liked and turn of events that I really liked. Some stuff I still rolled my eyes at a bit, but this was moving in the right direction for me. So we see Lottie pees blood into this bowl. And that's not a good sign, like Misty's saying. That could be problems with her kidneys. Again, this is a result of what happened with Shauna beating her up. And of course, Mari being Mari drops the bloody pee bowl going down the ladder. This obviously happened for a reason to show this. So you have Lottie's blood on the floor in the cabin. And then you have them take Jackie's belt and make belt soup. And you have Akila, who's revealed that her mouse isn't real, that she's been hallucinating it, that's this dead mouse. It's almost like they did a ritual without even noticing it for the death of Javi here. They had all the pieces they needed, and Javi was in the cabin. And what's interesting is Lottie gets visions right at the start of this episode, and they are correct about what's going to happen. It's the vision of Van holding the Queen card with the eyes out, another of seeing all the girls running after Nat, and then a vision of the knife at Nat's throat, and Javi drowning, but they show it upside down, which I thought was really cool. Now, we always say there's like two teams of the show, Team Supernatural and Team things being realistic, let's say science, but this is really leaning towards Supernatural again, and those theories because, yeah, Lottie's visions were right here. They were correct. This is exactly what happened. She had saw it in advance. But one of my favorite turn of events in the show that we needed something interesting to happen is Nat talking to Ben, and she mentions that even Javi's going the dark side here following Lottie. She's like, I saw him bowing to a symbol tree the other day. So this piques Ben's curiosity. What I like about this is it finally made Ben an interesting character, that Ben has more purpose than we initially had thought in this show. He is a way more important character, and that is developed in this episode finally. And it's finally something interesting and going into a mystery because he goes into Javi's bag. This is what us as the audience wants to do. He's looking at these drawings again, which I thought were interesting because one looks like Caligula, another is like a pyramid eye watching over the wilderness, and then there's one here with a rabbit. And rabbits are important in the show because remember, Shauna killed rabbits evading her guard in season 1 early on as an adult. And Jackie's mom gave her a rabbit figurine saying Jackie liked them. So this is a big theme going on. And not only that with the rabbits, but there is a character we see in the wilderness when we've seen in the timeline of them full on eating people that is dressed like a rabbit. So that's a huge thing. And these symbols are going to be important. And I'm sure Javi saw these in his secret hideout or somewhere in one of these hideouts that we have been revealed to see this episode. Now, Mari hears dripping again, but Ty says she hears it too. And we see the blood dripping through the walls. But what's interesting is Mari actually says they're dead, they're dead. We don't see anybody. We just see blood. So it's interesting. We really didn't see what exactly Mari was seeing there because there wasn't somebody there. And Van's just like, it's just the hunger. So again, everyone in this episode is seeing stuff because they're really hungry. But there's also this part, like the show always does, where this could be real signals here, real visions. Maybe these are people that died in this cabin before them. Or it's foreshadowing. Now, Misty's worried that Ben is making his crutches sharper after this guy almost killed himself last episode, but he's really on a mission here, connecting these drawings with Javi to finding that symbol tree. Now, what I thought was interesting is Travis says to Nat, you're a good person, I'm sorry for ever making you feel otherwise. They clearly threw this line in to make us think that, but then something awful again happens with this group and with Javi later on in the episode with Nat, and Nat having a choice she made that will definitely haunt her forever, which we'll get to. So Lottie says to Misty, if I die, don't waste my body. Then Misty will say this to everybody that Lottie said this. But everyone's like, no way, we can't imagine being without Lottie. And even Shauna says this. So Shauna gained respect from Lottie letting her beat her up last episode. Now, this is where Ty goes, we need to find a way to stay alive. Now, I did feel it was incredibly rushed, them picking the cards like this and not getting to see them even talk about it. And again, I get they're starving. I get these people are hungry. But there has to be a point, too, where it just can't be the excuse for writing that feels off, or maybe just not making interesting drama that we like to see people just talk. Because, yeah, they're hungry, but there's still going to be someone in starvation being like, hey, isn't there a better way we can decide who's going to get eaten, or can we just vote or something? Like, why the cards? Why do they all just agree to that? There's a lot of groupthink in the show, in the past timeline in particular, that's been struggling, where they just do it. Everyone's doing it. They did it while watching Shauna beat up Lottie and do nothing. They just all do it. They did it when they all ate Jackie, and now they're doing it here when they're doing the cards. I think we could just use a little more dialogue in these big moments of like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe we should do it. Again, just using excuse they're all starving, great. Maybe that's a more realistic thing, but we also need this to be interesting TV, and I feel like that's where it's failing in those big moments. We need the characters kind of speak out. There's no conflict between the characters enough of like a voice of reason versus a voice of just doing this. They all of a sudden always just do it and start howling, and again, the justification is always going to be because they're hungry, they're not thinking straight, but we need something a little more than that to make for interesting, exciting TV. The justification and doom coming of their behavior was they were all on shrooms, which made a little more sense, but it just can't be when they're starving in the show now they're all just going to act irrational. We need some kind of dialogue and conversation. Now, I thought it was cool that Lottie's really feeling what's going on downstairs. Her vision's coming true and there's a ritual happening with the cards, and the shocker here is that it's Nat that's chosen. Now, again, in a moment like this, though, it was very effectively tense because you're like, oh my god, Shauna's got the knife on Nat's neck, but at the same time it wasn't, because we know Nat survives. And number two, it's annoying that no one said, yes, we want to do anything to survive, but Nat's the only one who knows how to hunt, so why are we going to kill Nat? There should be some exceptions like they had for Lottie, where they can't let Lottie be her the one to get eaten. So why isn't Nat in that boat with her value there? That just seems silly that no one would say that. But Travis stops him from this happening to Nat, and did I feel like the Smashing Pumpkins song that I absolutely love work here? Absolutely not. I thought it actually took away from the feeling I was feeling in that scene of how dark this was, and it made it a little too edgy and fun, which I get annoyed about with some of the tone switches in this show. I just don't like that. Like, they're playing the Smashing Pumpkins, then everyone's howling like an animal again, and it's annoying that Misty was the one screaming, Natalie, but is the one who saves her a minute later and protects her. So inconsistencies, which annoys me. Now we see that Ben finds the tree, which was very fascinating to me, and it's warm like we saw Nat and Travis saw. Probably a different tree that was warm. There's going to be different locations that have this underground bunker, which could be connected to an underground city. Who knows what this is? And you can go inside it, and he finds that Javi was in here. There was animal bones by a campfire he was clearly eating. This is probably the meat that was missing. And here's the thing. When this is happening and Ben's finding this, that's when we know as the audience that Javi gets Nat and is like, hey, I can protect you. Come with me. I know where you can go. He was about to bring Natalie to where Ben was, at his hideout. Now, why on earth, though, if you're going to say Javi didn't say anything to anybody because he was terrified about what happened on Doom Coming, why wouldn't he tell his brother about this bunker? That makes no sense at all. At all. I can't wrap my head around that one. Because Travis didn't do anything scary in that. It'd make more sense, yeah, he wouldn't tell the girls because of how they behaved in front of him and scared him, but why he wouldn't tell his brother, I just don't understand this. But Javi falls in the ice. Nat tries to save him, and that's when Misty grabs her and is like, if you save him, the others will get you. And this is big, because then Akela's like, we can still get him out of there. And Sean is the one who goes, wait. And then they coldly watch him die. Brutal. It was like a groupthink Walter White here. And this is big because Natalie didn't do anything. It was to protect herself and let Javi die, who was trying to save her. And they grab him just in time so they can eat him, which is even darker. But there's an angle, too, where you don't feel bad for Javi. Because, yeah, he didn't tell them about the safety area, so maybe this is some karma. But it shows you that Travis wasn't there to see this, so they can just lie and say that Javi fell through the ice. And this could be something Nat never talks to Travis about, and again explains her guilt. But Travis is not going to want them eating his brother, so as soon as you see what happens with that, that should cause a divide, which the show definitely needs a divide here between people. But I did enjoy the past timeline, even though I had some issues like I was saying with it, but I did think it was very interesting and exciting, and I do really like what's going on with Ben, and we're finally seeing some answers here and him getting down below in the tree, and that he's more important than we thought. And that was still an effective scene here with Javi. It was dark, it was sad, and it was heavy duty, like messed up stuff to kind of top themselves in a sense. Even more messed up than the Jackie stuff. Because Snacky was already dead. Now let's go to the present day timeline, which really continues on in a lot of issues, which the show usually has in the present day timeline, especially this season. What you're basically watching with the group in the present day timeline is that now we're playing catch up. Now everything we've been waiting to be talked about the whole season in the present day timeline finally is happening, and it just feels so contrived at this point because we waited this long. It wasn't naturally through different scenes and scenarios. It was just in this one scene. Everything is put on the table in the share shack. Come on. This show can do better than this. We don't deserve as fans to sit there for 7 hours to get to this. And then it become like everything just thrown at you. That just isn't effective. That doesn't work. If that's going to be the rhythm we get for future seasons, how can we trust this show anymore? I just don't like it. What I did like, though, in the present day was actually everything not with the main group. With Jeff, I thought was really strong. You see now him just facing the reality of who his wife is in Shauna by seeing those pictures of Adam's body. It's why he has that nightmare. And it's why he has a really good scene with Callie, which we were kind of missing from season 1, scenes like this, where he talks to her and opens up to her about what happened, her losing a baby, and she can feel more sympathy for her mom because she's scared to death at this point, like Jeff even is, about what she's capable of. I thought that was just a well-written scene. And I did get a really good laugh this episode, though, when Van says, "Misty, you are nothing if not proactive." And Misty's like, "Thank you?" But again, we're just checking off the boxes here of everyone getting the information they need to get from everybody. Literally everything in one whole sequence. And then Lottie's like, no, Nat, we're not going to do therapy and talk it out. We have to give it what it wants. It's what protects us out in the wilderness. And then she brings up the idea of euthanizing one of them to sacrifice them. This is where, to me, it just didn't feel earned to get to this point, that it would be Lottie going through and doing the tropey thing where she points out, and you have this issue, and you have this issue. And this is why we should all risk one of us dying, you know? It was like, what? And then you're just sitting there like, is this silly? Like, them again? Is this convinced enough where they are at the point in their lives that they would actually really consider doing this? I mean, Shauna's life isn't that bad. I mean, she's getting better along with her husband. She's getting more closer to her daughter. Like, I don't know. And Van and Ty are back together, basically. And Misty's on the verge of finding her love of her life here. Yeah, I don't know. And with Walter, we see he's doing, of course, a giant cat puzzle. And we see how rich he is, how beautiful his house is. But he sees the news of Adam's body being found. And we know he got the information from Misty that she was involved with this. And he's about to email the police department and is like, I have some relevant info to your investigation, but he pauses and he doesn't send it. And why we know he didn't send it was because when we see Walter the next time, he's blasting Andrew Lloyd Webber, which is the music he listened to at Misty, so we know he's Team Misty, and he's grabbing that purple shirt, and I'm telling you he's going to go save his girl the next episode, and he is going to take them away on his boat that can get them out of the country, because they said that. This is what I've been predicting since we first saw that boat early in the season, that it's going to end with him taking some of them out away when they get caught with this crime. And I hope to God that's not where the show falls flat on its face, but we'll see. So I am going to give this episode an 8.1, and that's mostly brought up by the strength of the past storyline and effective how that scene was with Javi and the interest it brought me back into the show with Ben and finding that area down below. And I did like the stuff going on with Lottie upstairs and it connecting to what was going downstairs. However, I do have issues again with how quickly they just groupthink, do the card, why the cards. There's not a lot of why explained here. And again, no one's saying that's the hunter, why Nat. It's just going to be excused. I could see it now in the comments on the Reddit. It's still going to always be excused by, well, they're starving. They're not thinking straight. Yes, that's the really realistic take, but we need this still to be an interesting TV show. I can't just watch a show with a bunch of people starving and no one thinking rationally any sense whatsoever in the past. It's just not going to be interesting. We need conflicts. We need the Jack versus John Locke. We need the Rick versus Shane. We don't have that anymore. And that's the hurt we had with Jackie dying. Now it's coming full because that's what made that so interesting, is the Jackie versus Shauna. Having voices of different opinions going at each other. Conflict. That's what's missing there in the past. That's starting to really show its cracks. So I hope that Javi and what happened to him, that will start a group divide here with Travis's reaction to them possibly eating Javi. We'll see. But the present day storyline, it's now just making up for its snail pace in the current day. And again, it thinks the Adam stuff is way more interesting than the audience does. And I just don't know where this is all going with Lottie. So hopefully they can make this really interesting in this group, and that they're not actually going to try to euthanize one of them, because I feel like they just wouldn't really do this. But let me know what you guys think of it. Given an 8.1, but a lot of that coming down from the present day, but I'm still into the past timeline. And we got the finale next, so I can't wait to watch that and talk about that with you guys. So please subscribe. Please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. And I'll see you next time.